Alabama. What is their record going to be when the dust settles on their 2024 regular season? Now, we're not predicting postseason. I'm predicting regular season. Vegas has Bama at over/under 9.5 wins. Taking the over, taking the under. We'll talk about it right now. Before we get to that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel. If you're an Alabama fan, welcome home. If you're a college football fan, period, welcome home, because we talk about college football every single day on this show, and we want y'all to be as dialed in as possible to the greatest sport on the face of the planet. So subscribing here is the best way to do that, in our humble opinion. So again, Alabama over under 9.5 wins. I think they have just the right amount of attitude, right amount of spice in their attitude, rather, when it comes to this season. I think they're a little bit ticked off with how they're being talked about, because I think the national narrative is, well, Nick Saban's gone, Caleb Downs is gone, among a number of other transfers, a number of other guys gone to the league. What's Alabama going to be? There's like a question mark there that hasn't been there in a long time. Not that that's unfair, but I do think we have to kind of correct this conversation and make sure we're all clear here. This is not the island of misfit toys. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I love that movie. It's a very slept-on Christmas movie, but this is not Alabama in that roster. You still have a coach that went to a national championship last year with the Pac-12 team. A lot of good players on that Pac-12 team, coached by Kalen DeBoer. This is not like some coach that's trying to prove himself for the first time at a high level. Kalen DeBoer is one of the best coaches in the sport. You have a quarterback, straight up, Heisman contender. Don't just ask me that, ask Las Vegas that. Check out where they have him on the preseason odds. From a roster standpoint, this is still an operation that is full of 5 and 4 stars. Okay, you lost a lot from last year's defense, no way around it, but this is not a roster that is suffering for talent. Everyone who is on this roster that committed out of high school was a part of a top 2 recruiting class. Now, they were recruited by Nick Saban, that's for sure, but still, a lot of ability still in-house in Tuscaloosa. So here's the hinge point, man. How does everyone acclimate? That's always the question for every college football team, it feels like, every single offseason. But like, there's a lot of points that are new for Alabama that you got to see how it all translates when you put them together in the 2024 season. Kalen DeBoer, 104-12 as a head coach. None of those games have been played in the SEC. How does he acclimate? It's going to be a different grind. It's going to be a different ask for him week in and week out. Different pressure from a fan base level. Like, this is new now. Not saying he can't handle it. How does he acclimate? Young Bucks on defense. 33% production is back from last year's squad. A lot of talent, a lot of new. New does not equal bad at Alabama, but it does mean unproven. Number of new transfers. Jeremy Bernard is the one that I'm watching most closely. Wide receiver transfer from Washington. Familiar system, however, new teammates, new quarterback. I'm not just speaking to him specifically, but overall, like, how does this roster gel? How does the roster gel with the new staff? Saban's way of doing things and Kalen DeBoer's way of doing things are very different. My question isn't, do they like the new staff? Do they get along? That's not my question. My question is, how do they adapt to the weekly schedule, to the way that they operate when things don't go their way? Takes time. It does. How much time? We'll see. Jalen Milroe in a new system is also something to watch for. I think it'll be great, but I do think that it's something to watch for as well, and a question mark, and at least a watching point when it comes to 2024. It is not a matter of the recipe for Alabama. It is not. I do think you talk about the ingredients paired with the recipe. That's the question for us. I don't question Kalen DeBoer and his way of doing things. I don't question the roster talent at Alabama. Can you put them together? That's the big question. So let's go game by game here, man. Starting off with the Western Kentucky Fighting Nick Breaks. Think you win that game. You play South Florida the week after. Now, this game was back and forth at USF. It's not going to be that way this year. They will roll against South Florida. They will be 2-0. You go to Wisconsin. Now, this game, a little bit tricky. A little bit sneaky. Luke Fickleman, if we know anything about him, he will have his team ready to play. This is a chance for them to have a signature win at home. This will be massive. The place will be rocking. I do think you win that game and kind of solidify. All right, Kalen DeBoer's Alabama is going to be okay. They're going to be okay. You play Georgia at home. I think you lose that one. Kirby has this one circled. Not saying you won't see him again. All right, I wouldn't predict it right now, but that's a game that we're going to really find out a lot about Georgia as well, with him having to go to Tuscaloosa. However, I think Georgia is just further along than Alabama at this point, so we'll go ahead and say that you lose to Georgia. At Vanderbilt, no disrespect to Nashville's team, but you do win that football game. You play South Carolina the week after, and you win that football game as well. Now, they have a really big 2-game stretch here coming up. You're at Tennessee, and you got Missouri. That is a massive combo of wins. If you can win both those games, you feel real good about your chance to win a couple other games left on your schedule. At Oklahoma, the Auburn, like those games will get there when they get there. But like from a confidence level, to go into Tennessee, a place where, quite frankly, the matchups with what Tennessee has on the perimeter and what Nico could be, that could be a tricky task for you. Could be a tricky task for you. However, I think you win that football game, and then I think you go ahead and beat Missouri the next week. Now, you go to LSU. If this game isn't that night, I mean, then we're going to have a different conversation with what needs to happen at LSU with the powers that be. I'm expecting this game to be at night. I think that is just a different beast. We've seen too many teams walk into Death Valley and crumble that night against LSU. I think they actually lose that game. However, you finish with wins against Mercer, at Oklahoma. Careful now at Oklahoma. That will be a massive, massive deal for the folks in Norman. Hopefully they have their sea legs by then. Give us a great game. I do think you win that game. And then Auburn, praise the Lord, it's at home if you're Alabama fans. I think you win that game. So that finishes you with a record of 10-2 on the 2024 regular season. That's going to taste a little weird. Okay? It's kind of like trying Diet Coke for the first time. You're like, I think I recognize this flavor, but I don't really get the aftertaste. That's Alabama this season. It's not bad to be 10-2, because 10-2, I believe, is exactly what the doctor ordered for the first year in Tuscaloosa for Kalen DeBoer. There's a couple of things for you. One, should get you in the college football playoff, most importantly. Second, solidifies and stabilizes optics for recruits. Okay, Alabama's not fallen off a cliff. Okay, Alabama has some marketable moments to sell to future classes. Hey, come to Tuscaloosa, be a part of what we're building here, be a part of the next revolution of what Alabama is going to be. This is just the jumping off point. We're going to be more than fine. So 10-2, again, it tastes a little bit weird, but it gets you in the college football playoff, and I think would do more than check the box for you your first year as the guy at Alabama, if you're Kalen DeBoer. So we'll take the over on the win total there. We'll take 10-2, and we'll take it to the bank with Alabama being a college football playoff team. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.